The morning mist hung low over the hills, soft and grey, hiding the ancient castle from plain view. Aaron walked carefully along the winding path that led to it. He carried a small sketchbook under his arm, a pencil tucked behind his ear, and a quiet excitement in his chest. He had heard stories about the abandoned castle for years, about its tall towers and hidden rooms. Today, he had finally decided to see it for himself. As he approached, the castle grew taller and more imposing. Its stone walls were cracked and overgrown with ivy, and some of the windows were broken, letting in the morning light in long, uneven beams. The main gate was heavy and rusted, swinging slightly as the wind moved it. Aaron paused for a moment, taking in the sight. He loved old places like this, places with history written into every corner. He opened his sketchbook and began to draw, trying to capture the shapes of the towers and the way the mist curled around them. "Careful there," a gentle voice said suddenly. Aaron looked up, startled, and saw a young woman stepping out from behind a crumbling wall. She had dark hair tied loosely at the back of her head and eyes that shone with curiosity. She wore sturdy boots and a long coat, perfect for exploring. "Oh. Sorry," Aaron said quickly, closing his sketchbook. "I didn't mean to scare you." "No worries," she replied, smiling. "I wasn't expecting anyone else to be here either. My name is Mila." "I'm Aaron," he said, offering a small hand, which she shook firmly. They stood there for a moment, looking at the castle together. It was quiet except for the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. Something about the place felt magical, like it held secrets just waiting to be discovered. "I love old castles," Mila said softly. "There is always a story hiding in the walls, somewhere." Aaron nodded. "Me too. I love to draw them, try to capture what they felt like long ago." Mila glanced at his sketchbook. "May I see?" she asked. Aaron opened it and showed her his drawings. They were simple, but full of detail: arches, crumbling stairs, tall towers reaching for the sky. Mila's eyes lit up. "These are beautiful," she said. "You really notice everything." Aaron felt a small warmth in his chest at her words. He wasn't used to strangers appreciating his art so easily. "Thanks," he said quietly. For a few moments, they just stood there, looking at the castle. Then Aaron noticed a narrow staircase leading up the tallest tower. Its stones were worn and cracked, but it seemed climbable. His curiosity sparked, and he pointed toward it. "Do you want to see what's up there?" he asked. Mila's eyes brightened. "Yes. Let's go. I've always wondered what it's like at the top." They walked together to the base of the staircase. Each step was careful and slow. The stones were uneven, and some were slippery with moss. Aaron went first, holding out a hand to Mila when the steps grew tricky. She took it without hesitation, and for a brief moment, their fingers brushed. Both of them felt a small, unexpected spark, but neither said anything. As they climbed, the castle revealed more of its secrets. Broken windows gave glimpses of distant hills, and the walls were lined with faded paintings, mostly unrecognizable but still hinting at the past. The air was cool and smelled faintly of earth and stone. Every sound: footsteps, creaking stones, even their quiet breathing felt louder here in the tower. When they finally reached the top, they stepped out onto a small balcony. The view took their breath away. The mist had lifted slightly, revealing green valleys, winding rivers, and distant forests bathed in morning light. They leaned on the railing, silent for a while, simply enjoying the beauty around them. "This is amazing," Mila whispered, her eyes wide. Aaron nodded, feeling a thrill of excitement. It's like stepping into another world. They smiled at each other, a quiet connection forming between them. Both knew this was just the beginning of an adventure they would share, one filled with curiosity, laughter, and perhaps something more. As the sun rose higher, painting the castle in gold, Aaron felt a surge of inspiration. He opened his sketchbook again, ready to capture not just the tower, but the feeling of this moment, the beginning of a journey neither of them would ever forget. Aaron and Mila stood at the top of the tower, the wind brushing against their faces. The view stretched out before them, a mix of green hills, winding rivers, and distant forests. The castle seemed smaller from this height, yet more majestic than ever. Aaron felt his heart race, not from fear, but from the thrill of discovering something new. "Come on," Mila said, stepping back from the balcony. "I want to see inside the tower. There might be hidden rooms or old furniture." Aaron smiled. "Lead the way." The tower's interior was narrow and spiraling. Each step creaked under their weight, and dust floated in the shafts of sunlight that streamed through cracks in the stone walls. The air smelled faintly of old wood and cold stone. As they climbed, they discovered small openings in the wall, tiny windows that looked out over the valley below. Mila pressed her face to one of them, her hair falling softly across her shoulders. "Look at this," she whispered, pointing to a small garden far below, overgrown but still full of flowers. Aaron leaned beside her, trying to see everything through her excitement. "You have a good eye for details," he said softly. Mila laughed. "And you have a good eye for drawing them. I bet this view would be amazing in your sketchbook." Aaron felt a warmth spread through him at her words. He opened his sketchbook and began to draw the winding rivers and scattered trees. Mila watched him work, fascinated by the way his pencil moved across the page. She stayed close, occasionally pointing out details he might have missed: a patch of sunlight on a stone wall, a tree bending with the wind. "You notice so many things," she said. "It's like you see the world differently." Aaron paused for a moment, glancing at her. "Maybe. Or maybe I just notice what I want to notice." Mila smiled but didn't reply. They continued up the staircase, step by step. The tower seemed taller than it looked from outside. Every turn brought new surprises: old paintings, carved stones, and even a small wooden door tucked into the wall. "Should we open it?" Mila asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. Aaron nodded. They pushed the door carefully. It opened into a small, hidden room. Dust covered the floor, and cobwebs hung in the corners, but it had an air of magic. Inside, there were shelves with old books and a chest in the corner. Mila's eyes widened. "Wow," she breathed. "I wonder who used to come here." Aaron walked over to the chest and lifted the lid. Inside were letters, journals, and small drawings of the castle from long ago. Mila picked up one of the journals and read a few lines aloud. The words described a life full of curiosity and adventure, just like theirs. "This is amazing," Mila said. "It's like meeting someone from the past." Aaron smiled, looking at her. "And we're adding our own story to it." For a while, they sat in the quiet room, reading old letters and imagining the lives of the people who had lived in the castle. The hours passed quickly, and the sunlight shifted across the walls. Occasionally, their hands brushed when passing pages or pointing at drawings. Each touch was small, but it made their hearts beat faster. Finally, Aaron set down his sketchbook. "I think I've got enough for today," he said, though his eyes lingered on Mila. "Me too," she said softly, her voice carrying a warmth that made him smile. They stepped back onto the balcony together, looking out at the valley. The wind had calmed, and the mist had lifted almost completely. The view was even more beautiful now, and both of them felt a quiet happiness at being there, together. "Do you want to climb higher?" Mila asked playfully. Aaron shook his head with a grin. "I think we've climbed enough for today. But tomorrow, who knows?" Mila laughed, a sound full of joy. "Tomorrow, then. We can explore even more." They stood there in silence for a few minutes, watching the valley glow in the golden sunlight. There was a growing connection between them, subtle but undeniable. Neither had to say it aloud, but both felt it, an excitement for the adventures ahead, and for the moments they would share. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, they finally turned to descend. The spiral staircase awaited them, each step echoing in the quiet tower. Even as they walked down, hand in hand at times to keep balance, they knew this was the start of something special. The narrow spiral staircase led Aaron and Mila deeper into the tower. Dust floated in the air, shimmering in the afternoon sunlight that sneaked through the cracks in the walls. Each step echoed softly, reminding them of the silence and age of the castle. It was quiet, yet somehow alive with stories waiting to be discovered. At one turn, Mila stopped suddenly. "Look," she whispered, pointing to a small door hidden in the corner of the wall. It was old, wooden, and half covered with ivy. "I wonder what's behind it?" Aaron's eyes lit up. "Only one way to find out," he said, and together they pushed the door open. It creaked, revealing a tiny room, surprisingly intact despite the castle's age. The room smelled faintly of old paper and wood, a smell that made Aaron feel as if he had stepped back in time. Inside, the walls were lined with shelves holding ancient books and scrolls. A small chest rested in the corner, and scattered drawings covered the floor. Mila carefully picked up one of the sketches. It showed the tower, exactly as it looked now, but in the past, with sunlight falling on a garden and birds flying in the sky. "Someone loved this place a lot," she said softly. "They wanted to remember every detail." Aaron knelt beside her, examining the other sketches. "These are amazing," he said. "Look at the details, the way the windows are drawn, the tiny cracks in the stones. Whoever did this really cared." Mila smiled, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "I wonder who they were." She opened one of the journals on the shelf and began to read aloud. The words told stories of a family who had lived in the castle centuries ago, stories of adventures, celebrations, and quiet moments of reflection. Aaron listened, fascinated by the past, but also noticing the way Mila's face lit up as she read. For a while, they explored the room in silence, carefully lifting papers, examining drawings, and imagining the people who had left these treasures behind. Every now and then, their hands touched as they reached for the same sketch or journal. Each brush of skin was brief, but it left a small warmth that lingered. Aaron pulled out his sketchbook. "I think I should capture this room," he said. "It's beautiful, and I want to remember it too." Mila nodded, sitting on the floor with her legs crossed. "I can help," she offered. "I can pose for a sketch, or you can show me how to draw something." They spent the next hour drawing together. Aaron showed Mila how to sketch simple lines for shadows and light, while she pointed out little details he might have missed, a carved pattern on the floor, the shape of a broken window. They laughed softly when their pencils smudged, and both felt a quiet joy in sharing this simple activity. Eventually, Aaron set his pencil down and looked at Mila. "I like spending time like this," he said quietly. Mila smiled, her cheeks slightly pink. "Me too," she admitted. It feels special. Like this castle isn't just old stone, it has a story, and we're part of it now. A gentle breeze passed through the cracked window, ruffling their hair. They both looked at the view outside, the valley glowing in the late afternoon sun. The connection between them had grown stronger more than friendship, though neither had said it aloud. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the hallway outside the hidden room, a small clatter, like a loose stone rolling. They both froze. Mila whispered, "Probably just the wind." Aaron nodded, though his heart beat a little faster. Yes, probably. But even with the sound, they did not feel afraid. Instead, it added a small thrill to their exploration, a reminder that this castle was full of surprises, some hidden and waiting to be found. As the sun began to lower in the sky, painting the room with golden light, Aaron carefully closed his sketchbook. "We should head back soon," he said. "But I'm glad we found this room." Mila agreed, her eyes lingering on the journals and sketches. "It's like discovering a secret world," she said. "And I'm glad I got to do it with you." They stepped back onto the spiral staircase, their steps lighter than before. The hidden room felt like a treasure they would remember forever, a place where the past and the present met. And in that moment, both Aaron and Mila knew that this adventure was more than just about exploring a castle, it was about discovering something new about each other. The sky darkened quickly as Aaron and Mila descended the spiral staircase from the hidden room. At first, they thought the clouds were just passing, but soon, thick drops of rain began to fall. The sound of rain hitting the stones of the castle grew louder with each moment, echoing through the empty halls. "We should find shelter," Mila said, glancing around. Her voice carried a mixture of concern and excitement. Aaron nodded. "The small room we found might work. It's sheltered, and we can stay dry there." They hurried back to the hidden room, careful on the wet stone stairs. The room felt even more magical now, with the rain tapping gently against the broken windows. Inside, the smell of old wood and paper mixed with the fresh scent of rain. Mila pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders, shivering slightly. "Here, have some of this," Aaron said, offering her a small flask of warm herbal tea he had brought for the trip. She smiled and took a small sip, feeling the warmth spread through her. They sat together on the floor, leaning against the wall. The room was quiet except for the rain outside, and a soft, comfortable silence settled between them. Mila watched the droplets race down the glass, and Aaron sketched her reflection in a small puddle of light that fell on the floor. "You're really good at this," Mila said softly, noticing the careful lines of her reflection. "You make everything feel alive, even in an old, dusty room." Aaron looked up, meeting her eyes. "I just notice what's beautiful," he replied quietly. "And I think this moment is beautiful." Mila felt a small warmth in her chest at his words. She smiled shyly and looked back at the window, watching the storm. The wind blew stronger now, rattling the old wooden shutters. A flash of lightning lit the room, and a low rumble of thunder followed. Mila gasped softly, and Aaron reached out instinctively, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. "It's just the storm," he said gently. "We're safe here." Mila nodded, feeling comforted by his presence. She moved closer, sitting cross-legged beside him. The small room, once just a place for old books and drawings, now felt cozy, almost like a little world of their own. They began to talk about everything and nothing: childhood memories, favorite places, dreams for the future. Each story brought laughter, and sometimes, gentle teasing. When Aaron accidentally smudged a sketch, Mila laughed, her laughter ringing like a bell in the quiet room. He grinned, trying to fix the smudge, but only made it worse. "You just want an excuse to laugh at me," he said, smiling. "Maybe," Mila admitted, her eyes sparkling. "But it's fun laughing together." Time seemed to pass differently in the storm. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside, the two felt a growing closeness. Their hands brushed more often now, sometimes deliberately, sometimes by accident. Each touch left a small spark, a quiet excitement neither had expected. At one point, Aaron reached for his sketchbook and began to draw the way the rain hit the castle stones outside. Mila watched him carefully, fascinated by the way his pencil moved across the page. Then she leaned slightly closer, curious about his technique, and their shoulders touched. Both felt a quick warmth and smiled shyly at each other. "Being here with you, it feels right," Mila said softly. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. "I feel the same," he admitted. "I didn't expect this adventure to be like this, but I'm glad it is." They sat together for a while longer, watching the storm paint the castle in shades of gray and silver. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, the room was warm with tea, laughter, and a growing bond. It was a moment they would both remember, a moment of trust, comfort, and something new blossoming between them. Finally, as the rain began to ease, the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a golden glow on the tower walls. Aaron and Mila stood, stretching after sitting so long. They smiled at each other, a quiet promise in their eyes that this adventure was far from over, and that they would continue to explore the castle, together. The sun was slowly sinking toward the horizon, casting warm golden light over the castle. Aaron and Mila climbed the final spiral staircase to the top of the tower. The wind was gentle now, carrying the soft scent of rain and fresh earth from the valley below. The view from the balcony was breathtaking, rolling hills, sparkling rivers, and distant forests glowing in the evening light. Mila leaned on the railing, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I could stay here forever." Aaron stood beside her, feeling the warmth of her presence more than the sun itself. "It's amazing," he said quietly, "but not as amazing as, well, being here with you." Mila glanced at him, surprised. Her cheeks colored slightly, and a small smile curved her lips. She had felt a connection with Aaron all day, but hearing him say it aloud made her heart flutter. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They simply looked out over the valley, letting the beauty of the sunset fill the air between them. Then Aaron took a deep breath. "Mila, can I tell you something?" "Of course," she replied, her voice soft but steady. "I've always been careful, I guess," he began, "careful with my life and my heart. But being here with you, exploring this castle, seeing your smile, laughing with you, it makes me feel braver. It makes me feel like I can trust someone, like I can be myself." Mila's eyes glistened in the golden light. She reached out and touched his hand gently. "I feel the same, Aaron," she said. "I've always wanted adventure, but I never imagined it would feel like this, safe, exciting, and real. Being with you here, it feels right." Their hands lingered together, fingers intertwined. The simple touch spoke more than words could. They had shared laughter, excitement, and quiet moments of discovery, but now there was a new closeness, a gentle understanding that they cared for each other more than they had realized. Aaron looked down at the valley below, then back at Mila. "I think I want to see more of the world with you," he said softly. "Not just this castle, but everything. I want to share adventures, small moments, and everything in between." Mila smiled, a mix of happiness and warmth in her eyes. "I'd like that," she said. "I've never met anyone who understands me like you do. I want to see the world too, with someone I can trust and laugh with." They stood together for a while, watching the sun dip lower, painting the clouds in shades of pink, orange, and gold. The wind stirred gently around them, and the castle tower seemed to glow in the fading light. Every moment felt like a memory being created, something they would carry forever. Aaron shifted slightly closer, brushing a stray strand of hair from Mila's face. She leaned into his hand, and for a moment, the world felt still. No noise, no rush, just the two of them, together, on top of the ancient tower. "You know," Mila said softly, "I didn't think an old castle could feel so alive. But now, I think it is, because of today, because of us." Aaron smiled, feeling a rush of warmth. "Yes. This place, it's magical. And I think we found a little magic in each other too." They laughed quietly, the sound blending with the soft breeze. Then, as the sun finally slipped behind the distant hills, the first stars began to twinkle in the sky. The balcony was bathed in twilight, and the castle stood proudly around them, silent but full of history. Aaron and Mila held hands a little tighter, both feeling the unspoken promise between them. The day had started with curiosity and adventure, but it had grown into something deeper: trust, connection, and the beginning of a bond neither wanted to end. Finally, they stepped away from the railing, but their hands stayed joined. "We should head down before it gets too dark," Aaron said, his voice gentle. Mila nodded, her heart still warm from their confessions. "Yes, but I'm glad we shared this moment," she said softly. As they carefully descended the tower stairs together, their steps echoed softly in the fading light. Both knew this was more than an adventure, it was the start of a journey they would take together, full of laughter, discoveries, and quiet, golden moments like this one. The next morning, sunlight poured into the castle courtyard, warming the damp stones and making the overgrown garden glisten with tiny drops of dew. Aaron and Mila stepped out of the tower, ready for another day of exploration. The storm from the day before had left the castle sparkling, and the air smelled fresh and alive. "Look at this place," Mila said, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like the castle is waking up after a long sleep." Aaron smiled, taking in the sight. Flowers had pushed through cracks in the stone, vines curled around broken walls, and the old fountain in the courtyard was now filled with clear water. "It's beautiful," he said. "And I think there's still so much to discover." As they walked across the courtyard, Aaron's sketchbook slipped from his bag and fell onto the wet stones. The pages fluttered in the gentle breeze, scattering a few drawings. Mila laughed softly, kneeling down to help him gather them. "You're always dropping your sketches," she teased, handing him the papers one by one. "I guess I'm clumsy when I'm excited," Aaron admitted with a grin. "Or maybe I just wanted an excuse to have you close." Mila's cheeks warmed at his words, and she smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, I don't mind helping," she said, her voice playful. With the sketchbook safely back in his hands, Aaron suggested they explore the castle garden, a hidden area behind a wall covered in ivy. Mila pushed the wooden door open, revealing a secret courtyard filled with overgrown flowers and small stone benches. Sunlight streamed through the broken roof, making everything glow like a painting. "Wow," Mila whispered. "It's like a secret world." Aaron knelt to examine a patch of wildflowers, noticing the way the sunlight highlighted their colors. "I want to draw this," he said, opening his sketchbook. "And maybe I can sketch you here too, among the flowers." Mila laughed, stepping into the middle of the garden. Me? Among all these flowers? Yes, Aaron said, smiling. You fit perfectly here. She posed playfully, pretending to hold a flower crown on her head, while Aaron sketched quickly, trying to capture her joy and the magic of the garden. Every now and then, their hands brushed as he adjusted a pencil or she pointed out a detail in the flowers. Each touch brought a quiet warmth, making the moment even more special. After a while, they wandered along the garden paths, discovering hidden benches, small fountains, and even a tiny stone statue peeking from behind vines. They laughed when Mila almost tripped over a root, and Aaron caught her just in time, steadying her with a gentle hand. You saved me, she said, smiling up at him. I'll always try to, Aaron replied softly. The afternoon passed in a blur of discovery and laughter. They shared stories, pointed out interesting stones or plants, and even tried to guess what life had been like in the castle long ago. Every moment brought them closer, not just as friends, but as companions who trusted each other completely. As the sun began to lower in the sky, Aaron stopped to sketch Mila sitting on a stone bench, the golden light making her hair glow. She looked up at him, curious and happy, and he realized he wanted to remember this moment forever. You're really good at capturing things, she said quietly, watching him draw. I'm just trying to capture how beautiful today is, he replied. Not just the garden, but everything, including you. Mila's cheeks turned pink, and she looked down at her hands. I'm glad we're here together, she said softly. Aaron smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. Me too, he said. As the day ended, they stood together in the garden, holding hands and looking out at the castle. The adventure had brought them joy, laughter, and quiet, unforgettable moments. And though the castle was old and abandoned, it now felt alive with their presence, their laughter, and the bond that had grown between them. They knew tomorrow would bring more discoveries, more laughter, and perhaps even more moments that would make their hearts feel full. For now, though, standing together among the flowers, the world seemed perfect, and the castle was theirs to explore, hand in hand. The morning sun broke gently over the castle, casting warm light on the stone walls and the overgrown gardens. Aaron and Mila stood at the base of the tower, preparing to leave. Their adventure had lasted several days, filled with laughter, discoveries, and quiet moments that neither of them would forget. Mila adjusted her bag on her shoulder and looked around. I can't believe we're leaving, she said softly. It feels like we've only just begun to explore. Aaron nodded, feeling the same way. I know. This castle, it has so many stories, and I feel like we've added our own. He smiled at her. And I don't want this to end, not our story. Mila's eyes brightened. Neither do I, she said. She reached for his hand, holding it gently. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had always belonged together. Before leaving, they climbed one last time to the top of the tower. The air was crisp, and the morning light made the valley below shimmer. They leaned on the railing, taking in the familiar view: rolling hills, sparkling rivers, and distant forests stretching as far as the eye could see. Remember the first day we came here? Aaron asked, smiling at the memory. Mila laughed softly. I remember. You were so focused on your sketches, and I kept trying to get your attention. And now? Aaron asked, turning to her. Now, Mila said, her voice gentle, I'm glad I did. Because being here with you, it's been wonderful. They stood in comfortable silence for a few moments, simply enjoying the view and the feeling of being together. Then Aaron reached into his bag and pulled out a small sketch he had made the night before. It was Mila, sitting among the flowers in the hidden garden, the sunlight catching her hair perfectly. "For you," he said softly, handing it to her. Mila's eyes widened, and she smiled, touched by the gesture. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I'll treasure it." She held it close, feeling a warmth not just from the drawing, but from the thought behind it. Aaron took a deep breath. "Mila, I hope this isn't the end. I want to see more adventures with you, more days like these, and I want us to stay connected." Mila nodded, squeezing his hand. "I feel the same way. No matter where we go, or what we do, I want to share it with you. This castle brought us together, and I don't want to let that go." They slowly descended the tower, hand in hand, taking one last look at the walls that had witnessed their laughter, their excitement, and the quiet moments of connection. Every corner held a memory: the hidden room with journals and sketches, the garden where they had played and laughed, the balcony where they had shared their feelings. Outside, the morning air was fresh, filled with birdsong and the scent of the earth. They walked together down the hill, careful on the winding path, but neither of them rushed. There was no need to hurry. Each step felt like part of a new journey, one they would take together. As they reached the edge of the forest beyond the castle, Aaron paused. "Promise me something," he said, looking into her eyes. "Anything," Mila replied. "Promise that we won't let this be the last adventure together. That we'll find new places, and keep making memories." Mila smiled, her hand still in his. "I promise," she said firmly. "No matter where we go, we'll share it. I promise." They stood there for a moment, letting the promise sink in. The castle behind them seemed quiet and peaceful now, its stories safe in the memories they had created. But the future stretched ahead, full of possibilities, adventures, and days that would make their hearts feel full again and again. Finally, they continued down the path, leaving the castle behind but carrying its magic with them. They walked side by side, sometimes speaking, sometimes in silence, enjoying the simple joy of being together. Both knew that the bond they had formed in the abandoned castle tower would last far beyond these walls. And as the sunlight bathed the valley in gold, Aaron and Mila stepped forward into a new day, hand in hand, ready to face the world together, hearts full of hope, laughter, and the promise of many adventures yet to come.